All right, awesome. Well, super excited to have everyone here. Today we're going to be talking about how to accelerate your retirement specifically through real estate investing. So before we get started, I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about myself and what I'm doing here, talking to you about real estate investing. So I'm Savannah. Like I mentioned, I work part-time nights on the 2 center orthopedics floor. And I've been in healthcare for over 10 years. I've worked in a lot of different specialties. Really early on into my nursing career, I was naturally drawn towards process improvement and operations. And although I loved patient care, I really loved supporting the team even more. And so went back to school, got my master's degree in nursing leadership administration, and then worked primarily in leadership and admin down in the Providence system down in SoCal before I transferred up here. But I started investing in real estate in 2020 after having my second daughter. And that's why I have this picture here. This was really when I started investing in real estate. And it was welcoming our second daughters into our life. And my husband and I looking at our full-time, very demanding jobs and not feeling like we had the freedom and flexibility that we wanted to spend with our daughters. And so it was really us sitting down in front of a computer in desperation, Googling how to build wealth, how to invest, multiple streams of income, and real estate investing kept popping up over and over and over again. It is one of the best ways out there to build wealth. And as I started learning about it and looking at the numbers, which I'll show you guys a little bit later in the presentation, but as I started looking at the numbers and learning about it and learning that this is something that the mega wealthy have been investing in for a very, very long time, and to see how I could get started in it, I realized this was my ticket out of the rat race. This was my ticket out of my full-time RN manager job. And my husband and I did go all in on that. And within a few years, both him and I walked away from our full-time jobs. And now we work on our real estate business full time. So that is Willow Investment Group. I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about that company here with you today, because since we've started investing in real estate, and we invested in short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, where we went primarily to healthcare professionals and traveling nurses. We also invest in apartment complexes and self-storage facilities. But along the way, we now partner with a lot of other healthcare professionals who want to get started investing in real estate, but don't necessarily want to do all the work, which is what real estate syndications are, and what I'm going to be talking to you guys a lot about here today. But to just kind of give you an idea of who I work with and some of the companies that I've shared real estate investing information with, and financial wellness, wealth building, all of the above are big, big passions of mine. And as I started my personal brand, Net Worth Nurse, I've made it a point to share more financial wellness resources with healthcare professionals, specifically nurses. And so I work with the American Nurses Association, Nomad, Vivian Trusted, AMN. Those are some of the largest travel companies, staffing companies here in the US for travel nurses. A bunch of other companies, primarily nurses and other healthcare professionals who are looking to get started in these investments. And it's really the reason I'm doing everything that I am and why I'm here sharing this information with you guys. So a little bit more about how we're changing the lives of clinicians by showing them these alternative investments like real estate investing. So what we're going to be talking about today, a big overview of real estate investing. I'll talk about cash flow, multiple streams of income, the time freedom that it provides you. And then we're going to talk about what is a syndication, like the partnership breakdown, the risks involved, what the legal structure looks like, and then how to make money in real estate. So we're going to look at first organic appreciation and the value add model, and then the returns. So this is the money you can make in real estate investing. So if you've never heard of like cash on cash return or your average annualized return, don't worry. We'll dive into that a little bit here, but we'll go over kind of the ROI, the return on investment that you can see in real estate investing, and then where to find the money to invest. So a lot along the road, I didn't have a lot of money sitting around to invest in real estate. So I had to get really creative about tapping into different resources of capital through a second mortgage on my primary residence, through my retirement accounts. And so I'm going to be sharing some of those strategies with you guys at the end. So Before we dive into the nitty gritty, just want to throw up some limiting beliefs. So I help a lot of people get started in investing in real estate. And so I hear a lot of people's fears early on in the process. And I have my top 6 listed here. So real estate investing requires too much money to get started. I'm going to show you ways that you can get started investing in real estate for as low as $25,000. Real estate too risky and difficult to manage. There's ways that you can leverage expert professionals, like in the form of a property management company, to come in and help with this. I don't have the expertise to succeed. Again, leveraging other skill sets in the form of general partners and different things in these partnerships for real estate investing. And then too time consuming, too saturated or competitive, too unpredictable. Really not true. And I'll show you guys through real estate syndications specifically how it's a very different investment strategy than what you might be used to seeing, like flipping strategies on HGTV. So we're going to dive into a lot of these limiting beliefs throughout the presentation today, but just kind of want to throw those out there so you can be aware as you're coming into this presentation for yourself. But looking at the goal for real estate investing and why I specifically started investing and why the majority of people start is the cash flow, right? So when you own a home and say you have a tenant in there that's paying a mortgage of $2,000, your mortgage is only $1,500 and you have a couple $100 in expenses, say $200. So the tenant that's paying the $2,000 a month, your $1,700 worth of expenses, that $300 that's left over every month, that's what is considered cash flow. And that's what makes real estate investing very, very powerful, is this extra cash flow. Also having multiple streams of income. So for me, early on, as I mentioned, after having my second daughter. So when both my daughters were 3 months old, I had to hand them over to daycare to go back to work because I didn't have another option. I had one source of income coming in. That was my W-2, my paycheck from Providence, and there was no other money coming in. And so at that point, I had to go back to work in the hospital. I was trading all my time for money. By investing, especially in real estate, there's ways that you can make multiple streams of income. And when you have multiple streams of income coming in from different investments, now you don't have to trade as much time for money. So there's ways that I've worked with nurses who have now been able to go from full-time down to part-time, maybe per diem, just by having multiple streams of income coming in. And then more specifically, the time freedom that allows you. Everyone's motivated by different things, whether it is to spend time with your family or to spend time traveling or with your favorite charity or cause. All of us are so different, but ultimately these investments do give you the power to create more time freedom in your life, which is a big, big goal. And I can imagine why everyone is here today. So when I have people who are interested in investing in real estate, I always ask them first, do they want to, this is the first question I always ask, do you want to be an active role or a passive role in these investments? And most people don't even realize that there is a difference. So to have an active role in real estate investment, you're going out, you're finding the properties, you're getting the financing for the deal, you're managing the tenant or putting a property management in place, you're overseeing the asset throughout the lifetime of the investment. You have a fairly active role in that. So it requires a bigger time commitment, a more specialized skill set, and not something you can't learn. Lots of ways you can learn through podcasts, YouTube, different courses and coaching, but it is something most people have never done before. And dealing with tenants, toilets, and trash. So those are the 3 T's that we talk about in real estate investing, and ultimately what you are accountable for as a landlord of a rental property. So looking at passive investing, so there are ways that you can jump into real estate investing by taking a completely passive approach. And this I find is more feasible for working professionals. That's why I partner with a lot of nurses and doctors, physical therapists in these syndication type deals. There's a lower risk tolerance when you have more people involved. It's more people looking at the deal. You have more resources to tap into when different things come up. And so overall, a lower risk tolerance when you can invest in real estate through partnerships. To be passive in investing, I mean, it's ultimately hands off. So to show you really what a real estate syndication is. So a syndication is a group of investors combining their resources to go out and buy asset that they normally couldn't buy on their own. So think of apartment complexes, mobile home parks, storage facilities. Most people don't know this, but the Empire State Building is one of the largest syndications here in the US, a bunch of very wealthy millionaires and into that one. But really, this is an investment vehicle that people have been investing in for hundreds of years. It's just something that most people have never heard of. And so for us, even when we got started investing in real estate, doing single family homes across the country in Atlanta, Georgia, we'd started having some friends and family start approaching us interested in real estate investing, seeing if they could partner with us in some way. And we didn't even know what this was at the time, but real estate syndication is the correct term for this. And so it's the perfect combination between people who want to go out, so the sponsoring the deal, which is what I play in these investments, also known as like a general partner or a GP. You'll hear those terms thrown around very synonymously. But the sponsor on the deal, they're wanting to go out and do the work. They have the resources, the network, the ability to make a profit on these investments. And it allows, but maybe they don't have the equity or the capital to go out and buy a apartment complex on their own. And then you have these passive investors or limited partners. That's another term that you'll hear for them, the LPs in the deal. And they're wanting to get started investing in real estate, but not necessarily wanting to do all the work. And so that's really where this perfect partnership comes in play with these syndication deals. So I'm going to dive into a little bit deeper of logistically how these syndications work. So this is an example, the diagram over here on the right for all my visual learners out here. What we do when we go out and form a syndication is we create an LLC for the apartments. And then all of the investors who are invested in this group deal together, they own a percentage of that LLC based on how much capital they're contributing to the deal. So for example, you can see in this diagram here, the different limited partners or passive investors in the deal. These are the investors that aren't doing any work. They're just contributing capital to the deal. So you can see this passive investor, our minimum investment's $25,000. So this person owns 6.7%. This person owning 13.3%. This is a $50,000 contribution. So you can see you own a bigger percentage of the deal based on how much capital you're contributing. So I always encourage all my investors, if you do invest in these syndications, you are actually a part owner of these apartment deals. You own a portion of the LLC, which is really, really cool. And how it works is the investors receive the shares in the property based on the money they put in. And then the general partner, so this one right here owning the 20%, the sponsor of the deal, they're running the property, following the business plan, hitting the target goals for the investment. And then most of the return of the investment once it ends, and for our investments are usually like a 3 to 5 year hold. After that point, when the property is sold, the investors get back their original investments plus any extra profit that's shared among all the partners. And we'll dive into some example scenarios of what those numbers look like in a bit, but that's kind of an overall structure of these deals. So I want to talk about how we make money in real estate and the difference between forced appreciation and organic appreciation. So most people here have heard of appreciation in real estate, organic appreciation. So this is, for example, say you bought a home in 2020 for $200,000. Now in 2024, say it's worth $300,000. So you have $100,000 worth of appreciation. The property has appreciated. It's also called equity. So $100,000 worth of equity in that home. A lot of different things you can do into that, which we'll share a little bit later, how to tap into that for a second mortgage to invest in these deals, which is a great way to leverage that capital. But really what forced appreciation is as an investor in these deals, you can push value into the deal by increasing the revenue and decreasing the expenses. So different ways that we increase revenue in these properties: increase rent, supplemental income like laundry, storage, pet fees, and parking. There's ways that we can increase the revenue of, like, say, an apartment complex. And then our goal at that point would be to, at the same time, minimize expenses. So different ways that you can cut back on utilities, landscaping, maintenance, and repairs. So when we're looking at investments, we're looking for value add opportunities, ways that we can force appreciation into the deal, and tons of opportunities out there. A lot of apartment complexes and real estate in general are owned by people. Maybe it's been passed down in the generation for years and years. Maybe the owner who owns it, they're really just not optimizing it. They're not raising rents. They're not taking care of repairs and maintenance. There's owners who say they need a new roof, $30,000, and they don't have the money for it. They don't have the operating reserves. And so this is where a lot of the opportunity arises in purchasing these deals, going out and finding a motivated seller, and ways that you can add value or force appreciation into the deals. So to show you kind of a scenario of what that looks like. So for example, on the last building we bought, it was a 36 unit. The rents were 40% below market. So again, just an owner that wasn't raising them year over year. So in this example here, the value add model, just a flat 100 unit we're looking at. So say the rents right now are currently $600 a unit, but market rents are actually $770 a unit. So there's ways that we can raise them. And then the expenses, so say they're $400,000 this year, maybe the water bill's out of control. And this happened on a building that we bought up in Portland, Oregon, a 24 unit. We were looking at the numbers on the building and noticed that the water bill was very, very, very high. And when we went and toured the building, every unit we walked into, the faucets were leaking, like showers were leaking. You could hear the toilets running, and really huge opportunities that we had to come and implement water conservation aerators for the showers, or faucets, or different water conservation toilets. And the cool thing is, actually the state of Oregon incentivizes landlords to do this. And so they give you a huge allocation of money to go out and buy these. And sometimes they actually send you boxes full of shower heads and aerators to do this. So ways that you can decrease expenses like that. So just looking at this example, this is the net operating income right here, the NOI, net operating income. So this is how much income the building is producing, and really how multifamily real estate functions a lot different than say single family real estate. So if you own a single family home, the value of your home is largely dependent on your neighbor's home. Whereas in multifamily real estate, the value of the building is based on how much income it's producing. So how much money it's bringing in. And so that's your net operating income here. So as you can see before, the building was bringing in $300,000 a year. With these slight adjustments of increasing the rent, decreasing the expenses, moving it up to $550,000 a year, which is not hard to do in these examples. You can see the value of the building now goes from $4.2 million to $7.8 million. This is the power of multifamily and real estate. And this is what a typical syndication looks like. So now looking at what the returns look like of, say you wanted to invest in something like this, and what a piece of the profit looks like for you. So over here, I have a couple examples, like a $50,000 investment and a $100,000 investment. In a sense, the 100,000 is just double. But looking at this over here, the beginning member account balance. So this is the investor who contributed $50,000 to the deal. The green right here is the cash flow. So this is all the extra money that you're going to be getting for investing it, for example, in one of these syndication deals. So as you can see, especially in the value add deals, the cash flow the first year is a little bit lower. But then as we go in, purchase these buildings and start moving forward on our business plan, increasing the rents, decreasing those expenses, then you can see the cash flow does slightly increase year over year over year, with the goal at year 5 to sell the building. So our goal for our investments is 100% ROI, 100% return on investment, meaning that if you invest $50,000 in the deal, you're going to get your $50,000 back plus another $50,000 on top of that. And that will be seen through these quarterly distributions. So we cash out our investors every 3 months. And all the buildings that we buy are cash flowing day one. So that's one way that we hedge risk in these investments. But there's different ways that we evaluate this on a very regular basis. So say, for instance, at year 3, interest rates drop substantially, and we're able to do a cash out refi and able to get a large chunk of our capital back out of the building and distribute it to our investors. Like, that's our biggest goal, to return the money as quick as possible. This is, so to date, we own 7 apartment complex. Just a little bit of information about our portfolio. We've over delivered for our investors for every single deal. This number here, the 20% average annualized return. So this is the number you'd want to compare to the stock market if you don't really know too much about returns. And also, I'll have a link at a QR code to my website at the end of the presentation. And on my website, I have a full blog that goes into each of the return metrics with different scenarios, so you can kind of compare apples to oranges if you're looking at stocks and real estate in that sense. But so looking how the stock market does around 6% year over year, and that doesn't count for inflation. Real estate investing is a huge hedge against inflation, and the average annualized return that we see in our investments range anywhere between 15 to 25%. This one is an example that we're doing that's around 20%. So just a way that you could diversify your investments, opportunities to grow your money at a way different rate. Just things to take into consideration. Even working with nurses, I had a nurse who learned about these syndications at the last hospital I was working at, and she approached me and was like, Savannah, I just applaud your risk-taking ability that you're doing these real estate investments. Like, I just couldn't do that. And I started asking her, okay, like what do you invest in? And she'd come to find out her and her husband are big savers. They've saved over $200,000. They have it sitting in a high yield savings account, really not doing them anything for them. Our biggest goal for investing is to put your money to work for you. Really, with the rate of inflation, if you have $200,000 sitting in a bank account, the way inflation goes year over year, you are losing value on that money. And by instead taking that money and putting it into an investment vehicle, that's when it starts working for you and growing at a better rate. And so looking next, we're gonna say you're sold on real estate investing. You want to get started, but you don't have any money to invest. I was right there with you. I didn't even know this at the time, but my primary residence that I had in Los Angeles had appreciated over $100,000 in value, and it was talking to a very savvy mortgage lender who was into real estate investing to know, hey, you could take out that money on a second mortgage at a 4% interest rate. And when you're using it to invest in an investment vehicle that, for example, in our last example, is earning you 20% average annualized return, now you're taking all the money that you're making from that investment and you're paying off that loan, and you're still getting money back into your pocket every month. So that's the cash flow there. And so early on, I took out $100,000 on a second mortgage and bought 2 single-family homes across the country in Atlanta, Georgia. But they were only cash flowing a couple $100 a month, and it took one tenant turning over at 6 months, and I had to repaint the whole unit, and it was a couple grand, and it completely depleted my cash flow. And then that's when I really started looking into alternative investment strategies like these real estate syndications, and just the power of investing as a group investment, especially in multiples like multifamily. Multifamily real estate was the first asset class to bounce back after the 2008 housing crisis, and it has done substantially well throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. pandemic. So really, really strong asset class, and why I invest solely in that now. And looking at self-directed IRA, so another great opportunity. A lot of healthcare professionals and especially nurses, we work multiple jobs. And when you leave an employer, you have an old 401k account. For most people, it's just sitting there collecting dust. Really with a click of a button, you can go in and move it into a rollover IRA. I did this when I left Sutter down in Modesto. I had Fidelity and just went on there, click of a button, put it in a rollover IRA. And from there, what you can do is you can move it into what's called a self-directed IRA, and you can use it to invest in things like real estate, gold, crypto, things like that. It's been around since the 70s. A lot of people don't know about it or talk about it because a lot of people don't want to have so much control over their money. They'd rather almost sit it in an account and let it kind of grow that way. But I can imagine all of you guys that are here on the call are a little bit more proactive, wanting to be a little bit more proactive in your finances. So I highly encourage you, if you do have an old IRA account, there are ways that you can self-direct it. The fees are exactly what you're paying now in the 401k accounts usually. And a great way to, again, diversify your money. Chances are if you have it sitting in a old 401k account, it's growing at around 6%. So if there's a way that you could move it into a different investment and vehicle where it's growing at a better rate, I'll show you on the next slide what compound interest looks like for something like that. But real quick before we go over there, life insurance policies, I don't personally have used this strategy, but I do have investors in my deal who have certain life insurance policies where you can take out a loan against it. And again, if you have $100,000 in a life insurance policy where you can take out that money at a 4% interest rate, invest it in an asset class that's earning you 20%, you can see now you're paying off that loan and accruing more money every month. So huge opportunities there. Happy to dive into all those at length. If you guys have additional questions, go ahead and just drop them in the chat. But I want to dive a little bit deeper into the investing through the 401k account because I have a lot of nurses usually very interested in this. So really why I love it, I mean, it's an investment backed by real assets. People sometimes think that real estate investing is more risky than the stock markets. But I mean, I don't know if you've seen movies like The Big Short or Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, there is a lot of corruption even in the stock market. So for a lot of people, they have hundreds of thousands of dollars, really their entire lifetime savings put into the stock market, and this opportunity really provides you diversification. So, and it doesn't require taking money out of the account. It's a simple transfer. And you really benefit from the asset appreciation over time. Encourage you to check with your current custodian to see if it's something that they'll allow you to self-direct. Like I said, with Fidelity, it was very, very easy to get this process going. But so now we're going to look at the scenarios. So we're going to look at two hypothetical scenarios. Say you had $50,000 sitting in one of these retirement accounts. I'm showing you what in 20 years that $50,000 will look like with a 6% interest rate. So ideally in a stock market, right? So that'll be around $165,000. Good, right? But I'm going to show you what it looks like when it grows at a 20% interest rate, which is again what these real estate syndications are earning us. So 50,000 at a 20% interest rate, $1.9 million. So this is really the power of compound interest. Albert Einstein said it was the eighth wonder of the world. Really something that is very powerful in investing, and especially in these syndication deals. So again, showing you 50K at 6%, 165 versus $1.9 million. So big difference in 20 years, that same money that's sitting in that account, what a simple transfer could look like for your retirement. So, all right, say you're sold on these syndication investments and you want to get started. This is the steps to say you want to get started investing in one of these syndication deals. So step one, I encourage people to find an operator or syndicator, someone who's actually doing these deals. Like I mentioned, I do, but I also have a really great network of other people that I could refer you to. I always encourage people to get on multiple emailing lists for syndication deals. That way you can get a feel for people's communication, what information they're putting out, and then always hop on a call with them, ask those hard questions, and join the email list. And then step two, at that point, you're kind of, once you've established the relationship with a syndicator or operator that you want to potentially investment with, you're at that point waiting for a deal. So we do around like 3 deals a year. They're pretty big deals. They take about 90 days from start to finish, and they sometimes go even longer than that. So when we have a new deal, we always just update our investors through the email list. But if you are sitting around waiting for one of these, I encourage people to still stay engaged, attend different investment presentations, engage in Facebook groups, attend virtual meetups, just network and ask questions, ask for references always. And then step 3, say that you get presented with a deal opportunity, what this looks like for us. So say we have a new investment opportunity available. We email anyone that we have who's on our interested investor list and give them a slide deck of the deal. And then also I do a 20-minute presentation where I go over every aspect of the deal. So what market it's in, why we love the market. We show all of the financials and dive into a spreadsheet with pretty deep detail. And then look at what potential returns look like for our investors, and then the timeline to get started in these investments. And then at that point, I encourage investors to talk to a CPA, just letting them know that you're going to be jumping into one of these deals. The only thing different at tax time is you'll get what's called a K-1 form, which is very similar to a 1099. It just shows you how much income you've made from the investment. But a great thing about these real estate investments is we really leverage the tax loopholes. So the tax book is 5,700 pages long. 95% of the tax code actually shows people how to get out of paying taxes. Just most of us don't know how to read that. Real estate is one of the best ways that you can do that. And so we depreciate all of our assets. So there's ways that we are able to write them off against the income earned in the property. And so most of the time, the income that you receive from our investments show as a loss. So different ways just to navigate that come tax time. Everyone's situation is so different. So I always recommend just kind of looping in a CPA. And then at that point, you really just verbalize the commitment, complete legal docs. They're all through the investor portal and web-based, and then it's a quick wire of the funds. And then what the involvement looks like in the real estate deal for that point is really just sitting back and collecting returns. So you get quarterly updates every 3 months. We send out a little flyer with what's going on with the property, different pictures, updates, financial updates, and then we send out a full P&L, a profit and loss statement for all of our deals. So all of our investors can see exactly where the money is coming and going. To be honest, the majority of my investors don't even look at this, but we always do provide it just to be very transparent. And then at that point, you just let everyone know that you're a real estate investor. So really cool way to be a real estate investor without having to do all the work that may have been deterring you from investing in real estate up until this point. So with that, I'm wrapping up the presentation. Just encourage everyone to remember why you're here. For me, it was going back from maternity leave, hitting that rock bottom of like, I don't want to do this anymore. There has to be another way. And there are other ways out there. There are different ways to build wealth. These real estate syndications are a great opportunity. Have personally helped so many healthcare professionals into these deals, and now they're receiving great returns. For some people, family, vacationing, just more time freedom, whatever it is, I encourage you to prioritize your financial health. It can be very easy to sit it on the back burns, sit it and forget it. But I encourage you, if you're here, to take a proactive stance. And with that, here's a QR code to my website. Here is my email address. I love chatting real estate investing, if you can't tell. And so if you want to hop on a call and talk through anything, whether it's getting started on your own or in one of these real estate syndications, I'd love to chat. I have a bunch of different resources that I can connect you with. And then I do have a copy here. You guys didn't get the physical copy, although I did leave a good amount in the SNA office. So if you guys go by there frequently, you can pick up a copy of the book. But if you tap this QR code, you'll get an electronic version. And in this book, it really goes into a deeper depth, but it's not a big book. You can get through it in a couple nights, promise. And of these real estate syndications. So just really everything I've shared here, just kind of at a deeper level, especially with the returns and a lot more of how we mitigate risk in real estate investing. There's a lot of great information in there about that. So encourage you to check it out. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording and then I'll get to any questions that are in the chat. And then here is the QR code one last time if you want to hop over to my website.